In this session, we will discuss about the regression analysis. The determination of the explicit form of the regression equation is the ultimate objective of regression analysis. Therefore, here what we are going to do is we are going to identify the relation among given variables in the form of equation. Therefore, it is here what we have said that determination of explicit form of the regression equation. It is the main idea under this regression analysis. Then it is finally a good and valid relationship between the study variable and explanatory variable. It is what I have said previously also. Among the set of variables, if you need to identify the relationship, this is one method that we can use. Regression analysis is one good method that we can use. And normally we are identifying the relationship between study variable and the explanatory variable or variables. Study variable in the sense, and simply we can say it as the y variable, and explanatory variables are the x variables. And once you perform these regression equations, then you can use these regression equations for several purposes, such as predicting the values or estimation of the values, and the hypothesis testing, and the model the causal relationship. Therefore, if you can obtain the regression equation, then it means that you can model the relationships, and using the model method, you can perform hypothesis testing, and if it is a validated model, then you can use them to estimate some values, as well as if you need, you can go for the predictions also. Since the regression helps us to identify the relationship among variables, then we can simply say this is the form of regression equation. This is the simplest form of the regression equation that we can take as an example, just to get an idea regarding the study variable and these explanatory variables. In the regression analysis, I told you at the very beginning, we are going to identify the regression in the form of an equation. This is one example we can take: y equals x1 plus x2 plus x3. Here I have considered all the coefficients as 1, since this is an example only. And here we can say y variable. It is what we are going to study. Therefore, the y variable, another name for y variable is the study variable. And also we can say these set of names for to identify the y variable as well as the x variables. The y variable can be said to be dependent variable, and then in that situation we are saying x variables as the independent variables. Normally these wordings can be used to name y variable: dependent variable, outcome variable, response variable, or the study variable. Then these terms can be used to name the x variables. Therefore we can say that X variables are the independent variables, or they may be the predictor variables, or the explanatory variables. It is because we are saying this dependent and independent, we can independently change the values of x. According to the change of value x, the value of y will be automatically changed. Therefore, we cannot actually control these y variables. We can only control these x variables. Therefore, if you are controlling the x variables, it means that if you are varying the values of x variables, then it will automatically change the value of y variable. Therefore, that is why we are saying them as the independent variable, and this is the dependent variable. It is because y is depend on the values of x. And the theories and the fundamentals of linear models lay the foundation for developing the tools for regression analysis that are based on valid statistical theory and concept. Therefore, if you are going to model, or if you are going to identify a relationship in the form of regression, then we have to use several techniques to identify and validate these models. And if you see about these things, then we can say that regression analysis includes the following steps. It means what are the things that we have to follow if you are going to perform the regression analysis for a given set of data. First of all, what we have to do is, first of all, we need to identify the relevant variable. It means the choice of relevant variables. In other words, we can say we need to identify what is the y variable and what should be the x variable. So it's simply dependent variable and the independent variables should be identified at the initially. Otherwise, if you have not properly identified them, then you may end up with some wrong decisions. It is because sometimes you are identifying one variable which cannot be controlled by ourselves, may be included in x variable. In such situations, it will be really a big problem. Therefore, first of all, you need to clearly identify what should be the independent variables and what should be the dependent variable. Once these dependent variables and independent variables, or the choice of relevant variables were identified, then you can specify the model. You can specify a model for the given set of data. Therefore, you can use several statistical techniques to identify identification of the model, and then you can choice of model method for fitting the data. It means that if you can specify what should be the modeling, simply you can say that, okay, I am going to identify a simple linear regression. I may use univariate regression or multivariate regression or multiple regression or non-linear regression. Likewise, first of all, you have to identify the specifications and then a choice of method for fitting the data. Thereafter, once you identify the model, once you identify the technique, then we can say, okay, what method I am used to fit for this data. After identifying these things, then you can fit for the model. It means that what is the suitable model that we can fit for this data. Thereafter, you cannot say that even if you have fitted the model, thereafter what you have to do is you have to validate the model. It means that if you have set of values, it is quite like this. I will take very simple example for this. Now think about if you are having this set of data and I have made up an scatter plot for this data. And now you may think that these are the values that I can see. This may be set of values that I can see in the data set. And if I ask to obtain a model, I will take that, okay, I am going to fit a regression model, simple linear regression. Therefore, it may be in the form of a straight line. Therefore, I may say that, okay, this is the fitted model for, or I am suggesting one model for this set of data is this. Then I may say that, okay, I may suggest that this is the model which fits for this data set. And another person may say that no, those are not these two the fitted models. This should be the fitted model. Therefore, likewise, if a data set is given, even though you have identified the fitting model, there may be several tentative models. But among these tentative models, you should identify what is the best fitting model, and you have to thereafter validate the model, and then you have to make the criticism. It means that you have to identify what are the pros and what are the cons that you have faced, or that you can identify using the fitted model, or these good things and the bad things, or simply what is the error. Likewise, you have to definitely say after identifying a best fitting model even. Okay, when we are going to look about the regression analysis, then we have to definitely focus our attention on these cases. It is because in some situations we need to deal with several independent variables, several number of dependent variables. Sometimes it may be one independent variable with one dependent variable with several independent variables, or one dependent variable with one independent variable. Therefore, in such a situation, that is why I told you that we have to identify what is the specification of the model. It means whether it is you are going to use simple regression, multiple, logistic, or log linear relation, or else how we can say multiple regression, univariate, multivariate. Likewise, There may be several categories, but according to the situation, you have to identify what should be the best model for this. Okay, now we will go through this part. If you can see only one explanatory variable, it means that only one x variable and with the one y variable, then we can say it is as a simple regression model. It is you may have only one y variable and you may have only one x variable. Then therefore in the case like this, we can say that it is a simple regression. And if there is more than one independent variable, it means that if still you are having one y variable, but you may have several independent variables x1, x2, x3. Likewise, there may be a set of independent variables. Therefore, in a situation like this, what you can do is you can go for a method calling multiple regression models. In here, this is simple regression. Here it is multiple regression. And then based on the number of study variables you are using, it means that number of y variables you are using. If it is a single y variable, then we call them as the univariate regression. And if there is set of y variables, y1, y2, likewise n number of y variables, and maybe a positive real value that we can see, and therefore we can say that if you are interested in several set of or several y variables, set of y variables, then we can term such a model as the multivariate regression. But what you have to clearly identify is multiple regression. Multiple regression and this multivariate regression are two separate methods. We have to distinguish between the multiple regression and the multivariate. In the multiple regression, we are having several the set of independent variables. In the multivariate regression, we are having set of y variables. Therefore, as soon as you got the data set, you have to identify which model will be suits for the given data set. This is what you have to do at the initially. And I have tabulated these qualities that we can use to identify what is the appropriate methodology that we can apply in the regression analysis. Therefore, in this table, this contains the types, several types of regressions that we can use and the conditions which should be satisfied. If you see about the if it is a simple regression, if you need to define a simple regression, then these conditions should be satisfied. If there is only one explanatory variable, it means only one x variable, then you can go for simple regression. If there are two or more explanatory variables, it means two or more x variables, then you can go with the multiple regression. Then if there is only one quantitative response variable, it means here, even though it is a one response variable, it should be the quantitative. If you are having one quantitative response variable, then you can go for the univariate regression models. And if there are two or more quantitative response variables, then you have to go for the multivariate regression models. And it is just the generally we can say this as the four techniques that we can use to identify, and thereafter we need to identify whether the regression is linear or nonlinear also. The linear in the sense all the parameters enter to the equation in the linear manner. And sometimes we may say that the things may be can be transformed linear. If it is even can be transformed into a linear form, then such models are said to be the linear models. It is quite like this. Now you may think that what will happen if this is one example I am taking. If it is y equals beta naught plus beta 1 times x plus beta 2 times x. And here you can see that beta 1, beta naught, beta 1 and beta 2 are the parameters you have using x1 and x2. These are variables. These x are said to be variables and these beta terms are said to be the parameters we are using. Therefore, the linear in the sense, we have to say that the parameters should enter to the equation in the linear manner. It means that these beta naught, beta 1 and beta 2 should be linear. If these are non-linear, then we cannot say it is as linear. But in such situation, you have to check for the transformation of this. It is because if the transformation is valid, then if the once you have applied the transformation, even after transformation, if you can convert this into the linear form, then you can still use a linear model to fit the regression equation for the given set of data. And if you move to the next part, it is the non-linear. If you can see that the non-linear, the relationship between response and some of the explanatory variables are non-linear. It means that if you can see these parameters, at least one of these act as in the form of non-linear manner. It means that it may be quadratic, cubic, biquadratic, or any other higher order terms with these parameters beta, no in generally beta 1, beta 2 and thereafter. Beta naught is still act as a constant, therefore no need to worry about it. Therefore, most of the time we need to pay the attention on the parameters associated with these variables. Therefore, if the parameters are having the non-linear form, then definitely we cannot go for the non-linear model, but but we can apply this if these the transform data, if once you have transformed this set of values, then even after the transforming these things, then still you cannot find out a suitable linear model. Then in such situation we can apply this non-linear techniques. And the last the in this section we will discuss about only up to the logistics only. Therefore, if you can see, the response variable is qualitative. So far we have discussed the techniques which we can apply for if you are having quantitative y variable, but if your response variable is qualitative, it is like 0, 1, 2, 3. If you can just take the values as just the qualitative, it means 0, 1, 2, 3, just to identify the categories or male, female, yes, no. Likewise, in such situations, you can, if you have y values in that form, then you can what we can say them as the we can just name them using some numbers. Then there are 1 and 0, then 1 and 2. Likewise, you can have the number naming of those values using numbers. Therefore, in such situations, we can use this logistic regression models to fit for the data set. Therefore, these are the general techniques that we are used to identify the form of the model, whether it is simple regression, multiple regression, univariate regression, multivariate regression, then linear regression, non-linear regression, or logistic regression. But when you come to this linear and non-linear, this can be again associated with these simple, multiple, univariate, multivariate cases. It is because by combining simple and linear, we are going to consider about this simple linear regression. In the multiple also, we can say it is multiple linear regression. Then sometimes it may be with the non-linear regressions. In this session, I will going to discuss about the simple linear regression. Here we are going to consider the modeling between the dependent variable and one independent variable. It is quite in this form. If you are having a one dependent variable, here I am considering one dependent, and I am going to model this with one independent variable. If you can see in this form, then we can say this as the simple regression, and here we are going to identify only the linear relationship among these variables. Since we are interested in identification of linear relationships, then we can say that we are going to identify a simple linear regression model for the set of data. Therefore, we can say, since we are having one independent variable, we can say it is simple regression. But since there is it is a linear model or linear behavior of the parameters inside this model, then we can say this as the linear model as well. Therefore, by combining the simple and linearity together, then we can say Such a model is said to be simple linear regression model. If you can see, now you can see that there is only one variable, but in some situations we may end up with a set of x variables. Therefore, in set of, if you are having set of variable x variables, then you cannot actually apply the simple linear regression models. In such situation, you can go for the multiple linear regression models. Therefore, since we are going to discuss or deal with the simple linear regression in this session, this is the general form of the simple linear regression. If you have this form, then we can say this is the form of simple linear regression. In the simple linear regression, we are having the model as y equals beta naught plus beta 1 times x plus epsilon, where y is term, the y term is named as the dependent variable, y is the dependent variable, and x is the independent variable. Here we are going to study for this set of data. And now you can see that there are three other terms, beta naught, beta 1 and epsilon. Among these three, we will take beta naught and beta 1. Those are said to be the parameters of the model. Beta naught and beta 1 are the parameters of the model, and the beta naught parameter is termed as the interceptor. Beta naught is said to be the intercept of this model, and beta 1 is said to be the slope parameter of the model. The another term for this slope parameter, usually we are saying, rather than saying this as the slope parameter, we are generally using this as the regression coefficient. In generally, we are saying this as the regression coefficients. Therefore, this is the regression coefficient of intercept, and in general we are saying this as the regression coefficient of x variable, or in general we can say this as the slope parameter. It is because if you fit this model, then definitely these error terms will be removed from the model. If you fitted the model, then the fitted model will can be say as this y equals, I will take just this as an example only. If this is the fitted model, then beta naught hat plus beta 1 hat x would be the fitted model. Now you can see that this is somewhat equal to c plus mx, or if you rearrange the terms, you can see that this is in the form of y equals mx plus c. Y equals mx plus c is the linears or model that we can identify in mathematics. Therefore, in mathematics, we are saying the c as the intercept and m as the slope parameter. Therefore, that is why we are saying beta naught as the intercept parameter and beta 1 as the slope parameter. And even though we have identified this model, there may be some unobserved errors. It means it is beyond our control. Therefore, these error terms are denoted by the epsilon term. Since this is the form of the simple linear regression, we are including these error terms here. It is because y equals beta naught plus beta 1 times x plus epsilon t is the general model that we can use to denote the simple linear regression. Therefore, if you go through this error term, it is just the unobservable error component denoted by epsilon accounts for the failure of the data to lie on the straight line and represent the difference between the true and observed realization of y. It is quite like this. Now think about this set of data points. Now think about this set of data points. You may have a set of data points in this form. You may have one point here, one point may be here, another point may be here. Likewise, you may have set of data points in here. I will just use only very small number. Okay, if I fit a regression line, suitable regression line for this would be, I will say this is the fitted line for this set of data. But you may, now you can see that the original values are somewhat deviated from this fitted models. Therefore, if you consider at this point, if you consider the value at this point, now think about, this is the value that we are going to consider. Therefore, if this is the value that we are going to consider, this is along the y-axis, the value here we may get x. Therefore, now you can see that this is the original value that we have already observed. But if you see about the fitted value, what has happened to the fitted value? Fitted value is now exactly on this line. Therefore, instead of this value, now we have obtained this value as the on the fitted line. Therefore, now you can see that there is a difference between the actual value and the realization of the y value. It means the fitted value of y. Therefore, in such situations, we can say that this is the error due to this regression. Therefore, this is the error, and this is a term called, we are saying epsilon, and for the ith observation we can say this as the epsilon I. Therefore, now what we can do is you can compute the same thing for if you are considering these variables. I will mark them in this form. Now think about for this variable, this may be the point. For this variable, this observation, this may be the point. For this may be the point. Therefore, now you may say that I will have another set of errors here. Therefore, here you may experience the error as epsilon uh, 1. This may be error may be epsilon 2, then epsilon 3. Therefore, now you can see that for each term there are now having some ith error. And if the point exactly lies on this value, now think that this value exactly lies on the value. Therefore, there is no any error associated with this point. Therefore, according to the observed value that you can see in the data set, then you may get a fitted value. Since you are using a simple linear regression here, then thereafter you can see there is an error between the term, the observed value, and the fitted values. Therefore, once we need to fit these, then fit a regression model for the set of data, then what we have to do is we have to minimize these errors. By we have to pay the attention on that concept also. We have to minimize the errors, and we will discuss how we can minimize the errors in the simple linear regression. But prior to that, uh, therefore, when we can see, I told you that we can see set of errors. Therefore, it is maybe due to the lack of fit of the model that we have identified, or maybe if the variables may be qualitative, then in such situations also, um, we may end up with this type of cases. And it is the next thing is we normally observe, we are assu assuming that we are having independent and identically distributed for the random variables. We are normally saying that random variables are normally distributed with the zero mean and the constant variance. Therefore, sometimes if those assumptions are violated, then we may be end up with uh, high or the large number for the error value. Therefore, if what we need to do is we need to, if we are going to fit a regression model, definitely we have to minimize these errors. Even after minimizing the errors, we need to check for these model assumptions. We will discuss about minimizing these errors and model assumptions in this session, in the latter part of this session. And if you now think about the first thing what I have told you, these are the error terms that we are having. And now what we can do is we can minimize these errors. Therefore, if you are fitting a model, then we have to minimizing the errors. Therefore, the technique that we use to obtain the values for beta naught and beta 1. Here, these would be now the um, these may be the predicted values, these beta naught and or estimated values. The estimate value for this beta naught may be beta naught hat. It is because using the existing data we are going to obtain the values. Therefore, even though beta naught is the original value, we can see. Therefore, now what we going to do is we are going to estimate a value for beta naught. Therefore, the estimated value of beta naught would be beta naught hat. And if you are going to estimate the value for beta 1, then this would be equal to beta 1 hat. Therefore, These are the values uh, that we can observe for this set of data. If you are dealing with this simple linear regression, therefore, to estimate the beta naught and beta 1, we can use the method that we can minimize these errors. Therefore, what the method that we can use to minimize the errors, we are naming it as the minimizing the sum of squares of the errors, minimizing the sum of the uh, difference between observed and the fitted value. It means that minimizing the sum of squares of the errors, we are going to identify beta naught and the beta 1 hat. We are saying this as the least scarce method of errors to obtain the parameters of the simple linear regression. Now we will see about these cases in the graphical point also. Now you can use to identify these things in a graphical manner. Now you can see that if this is your data set, now you can see that you can use a scatter diagram between these two variables, x and y variable. Therefore, now you can see that the linear behavior of this data set, you can see it is because in the scatter diagram, it is just a sense of a linear model. Therefore, you can say this may be the linear model. Therefore, we can apply this linear model, but still we are just suspecting that we can still apply a linear model only. Therefore, by just the visual confirmation, based on the visual confirmation, we are going to apply the regression techniques, the simple or the linear regression technique in here. But even though you have confirmed or you have just have the clues for identify this as a linear model, even using the visual method, but if you have identify a regression model, then you have to test whether actually this is a linear model. Therefore, by checking the model assumptions, we can check whether the model is actually it should be, it follows the linearity, or it should be non-linear. Therefore, the very base idea of this identification of whether it is linear model or non-linear is just seeing the scatter diagram of the among the variables. Therefore, in this scatter diagram, you can see that definitely it should be a linear relationship. Now we will use the sum of squares. It is the method that we are used to identify this beta naught hat and beta 1 hat. If I brief about this method, the equation that you had for this regression was, the equation you had was y equals beta naught plus beta 1 times x plus epsilon. This is the equation you had. Therefore, using this equation, what you are going to do is you are going to subject the value of epsilon. Therefore, first of all, we can obtain a value for epsilon. Epsilon equals, or if you consider about each I value, therefore we can say it is given as the yi value, where it has epsilon I value. Therefore, the value of epsilon I can be now obtained using yi minus, if you can take all these terms, the left hand side of this equation, this would be beta naught minus beta 1 times x. Since you are using only one explanatory variable, no need to put ij values for x variable. Therefore, this is the equation that you have identified the obtain the values for errors. Now, since this is the observed or the value obtained for errors, then what you need to do is you need to square it. It is because we are going to take the square sum of the errors. Therefore, first of all, you have to square this. Therefore, you can obtain an equation for epsilon I squared. Epsilon I squared can now simply obtain using this. This is the quantity that you have obtained as the epsilon yi equals beta naught plus x. Beta naught plus beta naught minus plus it is beta 1 times beta 1 times x, and now we need the square term. Therefore, we are getting the square term of this. Now it says sum of squares. Here you have obtained squares. Now you need to take the sum of squares. Therefore, now what you have to do is, now you need to take the sum of these left hand side and the right hand side of the equation for the obtained epsilon squared, epsilon I squared delus. Therefore, you can take this as the summation I goes from 1 to n, and the quantity here is yi minus beta naught minus beta 1 times x square. Therefore, this is how you have obtained this quantity. Therefore, based on the initial equation identified for simple linear regression, you can obtain the sum of squares for these error terms. Therefore, now we can use these techniques to minimize this. Therefore, to minimize the sum of squares, what we can do is we can apply the concepts that we have discussed under the techniques of differentiation. Therefore, we all know that we can maximize or minimize a function by just taking the derivative and equating to zero. Therefore, we can simply identify whether it is maximum or minimum just by taking the derivative with respect to the relevant subject and equating it to zero. Therefore, using the same concept, what we are going to do is we are going to perform a partial derivative for this function. Therefore, first what we can do is, first I can get the partial derivative of this quantity with respect to beta naught, and thereafter I can get it for the beta 1 also. Therefore, if I get the partial derivatives, it means that here I am having this as the epsilon I. I will take this term as q. This may be, I am taking this term as q. Therefore, what now I want to do is I am taking the uh, I I cannot take the differentiation derivative. I need to take the partial derivative. Therefore, daba q over, first I am different get the partial derivative with respect to beta naught. Therefore, now we can obtain the value for the estimate of beta naught using this equals, by setting this equal to 0. Then we can obtain a value for beta naught, and then the estimated value is generally denoted using beta naught hat. And if you just need to identify the daba q over daba beta 1, here what we are going to do is we are going to obtain the partial derivative of this function q with respect to beta 1, and now we will equate this to 0, and this leads to obtain the estimation for beta 1. And therefore, using these techniques, we can obtain the values for the estimates of beta 1 hat and beta naught hat. Now you can see the equations obtained for beta naught and beta 1 hat. I have not included the calculation steps of partial derivatives here. Therefore, the final answers were obtained in this form. Here, beta naught hat. Now you can see that there is no any error term. It is because now these are the estimated values. Therefore, if you have estimated these things, then errors cannot be there. It is because you have minimized the errors and you have set it to 0. Therefore, the estimated value for beta naught hat is equal to y bar minus beta 1 hat x bar. And y bar is the mean value of the response variable, and x bar is the mean value of the explanatory variable, and beta 1 hat is the estimated value for slope parameter. Now, you can see that this is what we have used to obtain the value of beta 1 hat. Therefore, you can see that this is equal to summation I goes from 1 to n xi minus x bar into yi minus y bar divided by summation of I goes from 1 to n xi minus x bar square. Therefore, we can use this notation also to denote a value for beta 1 hat x, beta 1 hat. Therefore, we can say this as we can use this notation. It is sxy denoted by sxx. Therefore, this is actually denoted by this beta 1 hat. Therefore, if you refer for these equations in internet or some other books, then you can see on this equation also. Therefore, actually this Sxy is you can define it using this equation, and the equation for Sx is this. And but for the calculations, if you are using this beta 1 hat equation, it will not be that much easy. Therefore, easiness of the calculation, now you can multiply these terms, and then you can cancel out the terms which you are having pluses and minuses. Then thereafter at the end, if you get the summation accordingly, then you can obtain the equation which we can use to estimate the value of beta 1. The equation would be beta 1 hat equals summation of xy minus n times x bar times y bar. It is x bar times y bar. Then this has to be divided summation of x squared minus n times x bar squared. Here, this is the summation that we are taking, the summation of xy. Here we are taking the summation of x squared, and this quantity has to be now subtracted from this summation quantity, and n x bar has to be now subtracted from summation of x squared quantity. And still we can use this equation to obtain the value for estimate value for the beta naught. Therefore, this is how we can use these values to obtain the value, estimate the values for beta naught and beta 1 hat. Once we have obtained the estimated values for beta naught and beta 1, now you can rewrite the model in this form. Therefore, now you can see the fitted regression model. Now it equals to y equals beta naught hat plus beta 1 hat times x. Now you can see that there is no any error term. It is because you can see that for calculation of these estimated values, to calculate these estimated values, what we have used was this minimizing the sum of the squares of the errors. Therefore, using the least squares estimator, we have used the least squares method. Therefore, these can be the said to be least square estimators. Therefore, since you have used least square estimators in the model, there cannot be any error term now. Therefore, in the previous one, the model you had was y equals beta naught plus beta 1 plus 1 times x plus epsilon. Here, these are the general terms that we have used, but now you can see that now you have obtained or you have estimated these values. Therefore, since estimated values are using, there is no any error term appears. Therefore, now the meanings of these terms are included here, where y is the dependent variable, x is the independent variable, and beta naught hat is the estimated intercept term, beta 1 hat is the estimated slope of the line, and epsilon t is meant to be the error of this regression model. And this is how you are estimating the regression models for a given set of data. And I told you that once this fitted model, and this may be identified as an appropriate model for this set of data, and thereafter what we need to do is we need to check for the model assumptions in the regression. Therefore, first of all, I will tell you what are the assumptions in the simple linear regression. We need to pay our attention on the assumptions of the simple linear regression. It means that the first one is linear relationship of data. Still we had only a graphical confirmation only, but we need to prove it using, we can use in the fitted value versus residuals plot, residuals versus fitted values plot to identify this relationship. And then based on the residual values plot, we can identify whether the rest of the three assumptions are violated or not. Therefore, if you are fitting a very good model, then these assumptions cannot be violated. If the assumptions are violated, then we have to go for another technique. Therefore, we are by assuming these are correct, then we are fitting the model. But if the fitted model does not satisfy with these assumptions, then we have to definitely reject that model. Therefore, the other three assumptions are residuals have mean value of 0, and residuals have a constant variance, and residuals are normally distributed. Therefore, once the model is fitted, we need to check for the assumptions are validated or not. Therefore, you can use some other graphical techniques as well as some statistical methods that we can use to test for these assumptions in linear regression. Therefore, we will discuss about the testing of assumptions at the later after finding testing for the regression of significance of the regression. Therefore, now this is what you have to keep in your mind. These are the assumptions that we have used. Therefore, after identifying a fitted model, then you have to check for these assumptions also. Now, the next thing what we have to do is, now you have identified this may be a suitable model that which fits for the given data set. Therefore, now we need to test whether the fitted model is significant or not. It means that sometimes you may see that this beta naught is not significant. It means that it is no need to include in the in this model, and sometimes you may identify that beta 1 is not significant. It is quite like this. Now think about this set of data. Now think about this set of data. Now you may see that if the data points are varying in this manner. Now you may think that if your set of data points are varying in this manner, sometimes you may think that okay, I need to fit a model, and the I have fitted this model. The fitted model for this set of data is this. Now you can see that rather than fitting this type of model, sometimes it may be gives a good model in this form also. But anyhow, the least squares gives the model in this form. But if sometimes if it may be parallel to the x-axis, therefore in such situations you may say that the x variable is not that much evolved with this observation. It means that you cannot you can definitely remove these uh, the extents from the model. It means that you can just model this with the constant term. Therefore, what we can do here is we can omit the x variable from this. To omit the x variable, what we need to do is we need to check whether this beta 1 is significant or not. If this is not significant, it means that if this value is closer to 0, or we can say it is not important, then we can omit this variable. Therefore, this is what we are going to do under testing for the significance of the regression model. Now we will see how we can perform the test for the significance of the regression. In generally, if this is the fitted model, we can say that beta naught plus beta 1x normally we are using. And what we need to do is now we need to check for whether this x variable is actually important for the fitting the data set or not. In generally, we can say that we need to identify whether this beta 1 is actually important for our variable or not. Therefore, once the model is fitted, we need to test for whether the regression variables or these regression coefficients are significant or not. Therefore, if you obtain an software output, then you can obtain the values for beta naught as well. But here we are going to just check for the beta 1 hat. It means that whether this x variable is actually affected on the y variable or not. Therefore, the test hypothesis we are using is beta 1 equals 0 versus beta 1 not equals 0. It means that if beta 1 equals 0 means this term becomes 0, means there is no effect from x towards this y variable. That is what we are going to test here. Therefore, null hypothesis would be beta 1 which equals 0, and alternative would be beta 1 not equals 0. This is two-sided hypothesis. And to test this hypothesis, you can use the two-sided test. To test this hypothesis, you can use the t-test. There are one method that you can use is the t-test, but here I am just discuss about the ANOVA technique for testing for the significance of the regression. Therefore, this is how we can perform the ANOVA, and this is the ANOVA table that you can obtain for simple linear regression. Therefore, these are the variables that we are including in the ANOVA table. It is the source of variable. These here we are going to identify the regression variable, error, and the total. Since we are having two variables beta naught and beta 1, but here we are going to test for beta 1 only. Therefore we are saying always for the simple linear regression we are considering degrees of freedom as 1, and the degrees of freedom for total is n minus 1, and taking the difference you can obtain the value for degrees of freedom of error. Normally we are taking the degrees of freedom of error, just taking the difference between the degrees of freedom of regression and as well as for the total. And we are doing the same thing for the sum of whiskers. To calculate the error sum of whiskers, we can take the regression sum, we can take the difference between total sum of whiskers and the regression sum of whiskers. Then we are use these notations to denote the regression sum of whiskers: SSR, SSE for error sum of whiskers, SST for total sum of whiskers. And now we will see how we can obtain the mean whisker values. Mean whiskers values can be simply obtained using sum of whiskers divided by degrees of freedom. Therefore, here you can see that SSR and MSR would be equal. It is because here you can see the degrees of freedom is 1. And for to calculate the error mean whisker errors, you can divide the error sum of whiskers by n minus 2, where n minus 2 is the degrees of freedoms associated with this error. Then F ratio can be obtained. Based on this F ratio, we are going to take the decision. Therefore, to make a decision, we need to identify the F ratio. Therefore, F ratio can be obtained using taking the ratio between mean sum of regression and the mean square. Therefore, MSR divided by MSE gives you the value for the F ratio. And this is how we are constructing the ANOVA table. And to construct the ANOVA table, this may be the useful formula. To calculate the SST, SSCR we have to use these equations. Therefore, the equation for SST in simply, if you go through the definition for total sum of whiskers, total sum of whisker may be it is the deviation of the original value and the mean value. Therefore, if you subtract mean value from each observed value, then that difference is squared and obtain summation throughout the n number of observations. Then you can obtain a value for total sum of whiskers. Therefore, if you simplify this equation, you can end up with this calculation as summation of y squared minus ny bar. And to identify the regression sum of whiskers, here what we are going to do is, here we are getting the difference between the fitted values and the mean value. Here to get the total, it is among the fit or observed value and the mean value. Here among the fitted value and the mean value we are taking. But we can say for the fitted value, we can use this yi hat. Therefore, we can use the equation that we have used to uh, obtain the values for the fitted value. The equation that you have learned was, it is actually y hat. This y hat becomes beta naught hat plus beta 1 hat x. Therefore, using this equation, now you may do the substitutions for y hat. Therefore, using appropriate substitution, then you can end up with this calculation. Therefore, you can try for these calculations by your own, whether you can also obtain the same equation by applying these techniques in, or applying these equations in the terms or equations you have obtained initially according to the definition. Then SS error, if you go through the definition also, here we are going to identify the difference between the ith ith fitted value, this is the fitted value, and the ith observed value. Therefore, if you take the difference between among these two and square it and get the summation where I goes from 1 to n, then we can obtain the value for SSE. Therefore, even though this is the method where the definition we can use for SSE, we can simply obtain it using the taking the difference between the total sum of whiskers and the regression sum of whiskers. I told you that based on the F value, we are taking the decision. Therefore, we can define the decision rule for this, and in generally we are performing this hypothesis testing under 5% significance level. Since we are performing the hypothesis under 5% significance level, then what we can do is we can set this is the value of alpha. Alpha is now equal to 0.05. According to the ANOVA table, we have calculated the F value, and since we have calculated it, we can say it as the F cal. It is for the calculated F value. And if this calculated value is greater than the critical value, which we can identify it as F1 comma n minus 2. F1 comma n minus 2 are the degrees of freedom for the critical value at the level of alpha. Then we can say that if this happens, then what we can do is we need to reject H naught. We need to reject the null hypothesis if the calculated value is greater than the critical value. The degrees of freedom for the critical value, if you go through the ANOVA table again, you can see degrees of freedom of regression is 1. Therefore, degrees of freedom of numerator is now 1, and degrees of freedom of denominator is n minus 2. It is coming under error degrees of freedom. It is because in here we have taken the ratio between regression and the error. Numerator comes from regression and denominator comes from error. That is why we are saying numerator degrees of freedom it is as 1, numerator denominator degrees of freedom as n minus 2. Therefore, this is the decision rule that we are taking for the testing the hypothesis of this using this calculated F value and the critical F value. You can use this method to identification. You can use this method to identification of the um, significance of the fitted model or this regression coefficient. If you reject H naught, it means that you are rejecting H naught. It means that what we can do is if you are rejecting H naught, then you are rejecting beta 1 equals 0. If you are rejecting this means, then we can say that beta 1 is not equal to 0. Therefore, you can say that beta 1 is significant. Therefore, there is a relationship between X and Y variables. You can identify a significant relationship. But what will happen if it is failed to reject H naught? If you are failed to reject H naught, then we can say that beta 1 equals 0. It means that since beta 1 becomes 0, then this term becomes 0. This beta 1 times x becomes 0. Therefore, there is just a constant. There is no relationship among y and x here. Y is independently behave. It is just with the value as beta naught. Therefore, those are the decisions that we can make upon this hypothesis testing for significance of regression. Therefore, as soon as you fitted the regression model, you have to check these parameters are significant or not. In generally, we are performing this for the significance of the beta 1 in the simple linear regression. And the next important technique that we need to discuss under this regression model is this coefficient of determination. Coefficient of determination. It is because I told you that we can fit several models. We can fit several models. Now, as an example, if you see about this set of values, I may say that okay, these are the models I have fitted, and I may fit several other models. I may say okay, this is one tentative model that I can use, and I may say that this is another model that I can use for this set of data. This may be another model I have used. But among these set of models, you have to identify what should be the most appropriate model. Therefore, to identify this, you can use even this coefficient of determination. Therefore, if you go through the concept of the coefficient of determination, then the coefficient of determination is meant to be the proportion of the variance in the dependent variable which is predictable from the independent variable. It means that in simply we can say the variation which we can explain using the fitted model. The variation which we can explain using the fitted model is meant to be the coefficient of determination, and the notation that we use to define denote this coefficient of determination is r squared, and you can obtain the value for r squared by taking the ratio between regression sum of squares and total sum of squares. And the next important thing regarding this coefficient of determination is always lies in between this r squared lies in between 0 and 1. It is lies in between 0 and 1, and generally we are saying this as a percentage. Therefore, these values can be converted into percentage. Therefore, these values are in between 0% and 100%. Therefore, if you got 0% or value which is closer to 0, then we can say this model is not a good model. It is because the we cannot explain a small amount of variation using the fitted model. But if you are obtaining a higher value, it is quite like 80%, 90%, 70%, yeah, is 60% even. We can say that according to the situation, it may be a very good model. Therefore, to calculate the R squared, what you can do is R squared is obtained as the SSR, regression sum of squares divided by total sum of squares. Now we have identified a model. If you summarize these things, we have now identified a model. It is y equals in the form of beta naught hat plus beta 1 hat. This is the first step. What we have, first of all, we have identified is a linear relation. After finishing all those initial identifications, we have fitted the model, and thereafter we had the hypothesis testing. It means that fitted model it means that significant or not. Therefore, we have tested for beta 1 hat. Thereafter, what we can do is we have check this using the F statistic, and thereafter what you have to do is you have to use the R squared. R squared says that how the fitted model is, how much the fitted model is good. If this value is very closer to 0, then we can say it is a very good model. If it is around 0 or somewhat 30 to 20 likewise values, or 30% to 20% or 0.2 or 3 around that value, then we may say that it is not that much appropriate model for this set of data. But according to the situation, you can identify it is because due to the high variations or due to the large variations of the observations, these are the R squared value may become a lower value, which means now think about if you are having a set of data in this form. Now see about this set of data. If you are having the set of data in this form, then if you have fitted the line for this set of data, and definitely this will go through almost all the points. Therefore, in a situation like this, then you may get a very higher R squared value. But think about this situation. If you have data points which having a very large deviations among each other, now think about if you are having large deviations around this. Now if you have fitted the model for this, then this may not be that much good as previous. It is because if I fit the model, then I may get this model in this form. Therefore, there may be high errors. Therefore, you may have this model if you at some points here also. This method would not be that much good if you are having this type of models. Therefore, in such situations, you may end up with less number for this R squared. Therefore, in such situations, you have to go for an alternative method. It is because sometimes it seems that if your data points having a pattern like this, then in such situation you may not able to identify very good model. Actually, in such situations also, if you fitted the model in this form, then it may not be a very good model for this. Therefore, you may end up with somewhat less value for R square. Therefore, after checking or after obtaining all these values, then you can go for the testing on the model assumptions. It is here what we are going to do. I have briefly mentioned what are the assumptions that we are using in the simple linear regression, and now we will say how we can test this model assumption. We need to test the model assumptions once the regression line is fitted, and we can use the statistical tests as well as the residual plot. Residual in the sense another term for error. Errors are named as the residual in regression. Rather than saying errors, we can say this as the residual. Therefore, we have previously defined the error of the ith variable, ith observation can be obtained used as the, it is the difference between observed and the fitted value. It is the observed, and the difference between observed and the fitted value is meant to be this error term. Therefore, these are meant to be the errors, as well as another term for this can be used is residual. Therefore, these are the residuals we are using, and the plots associated with residuals are meant to be the residual plot. Therefore, we have already identified four assumptions that we can use. We have used in simple linear regression. Therefore, these are the methods we can use to test for these model assumptions. Here, the first assumption, it is the linear relationship of data. Therefore, at the very beginning, we check it in a graphical manner. Therefore, we can check the linearity of the data just using the scatter plot. Therefore, here also, we are fitting a scatter plot among the residuals versus the fitted values and the residuals. Therefore, if you obtain this residual plot, now you can see that there is no any fixed pattern. It is just a random way. But now think about if these fitted residuals versus fitted value plot. I will use another color to draw this. Now think about if you have the values in this form. Now you can see that there is a pattern. Therefore, if the values or the graph that you have identified in this form, now you can see that there is a specified pattern in this residuals versus fitted values. Therefore, in such case, you can say that the linearity assumption is violated. Otherwise, if according to this plot, you can see that there is no any pattern. The points are actually in a random way. Therefore, you can say that since the points are in the random way, then we can say that this set of data follows the assumption of linearity. Therefore, the first assumption is not violated. And we normally, when we are plotting this residual versus fitted value, normally we are having a threshold line at the 0. It is just to take the mean value. Therefore, this is the red line is normally we are using the red color line, and red color actually it is using the dashes. The red color dashes denotes where is it is the horizontal value for 0. And now you can see that there is no any fixed pattern. If there is no fixed pattern, then we can say that we can say in simply the linearity assumption is not violated. But if you have obtained the data points in this way, now you can see that there is a pattern. If you have obtained the data points in this way, now you can see there is a pattern. Therefore, in such situation, you can see now you can draw a pattern for this. Now it is quite a pattern like this. Therefore, you may identify a pattern in here. Therefore, you can say that the linearity assumption is violated in this situation. And if you move to the second test is the, or assumption testing is the residual have a mean value of 0. It means that errors, the mean value of the errors should be equal to 0. Therefore, again we can use the residual versus fitted value plot to identify the zero mean assumption. Here you can see here the generally this line denotes the mean value. Therefore, you can see if you are having around same number of observations above the line and the below the line with the equal distances, it means that pluses and minuses will be cancelled out. Therefore, again we can take the mean value equal to 0. Therefore, now you can see around the half of these data values are in the upper region from the zero line, and the around half of these are around the below the main the zero line with having somewhat equal distances. Therefore, by seeing this plot, you can say that the mean value is 0. Therefore, if you need, you can take the error terms, and then you can test the error terms with the t-test statistics. If you need to test this, then you can say we can take that mean value of errors. It means that you can check for this hypothesis. It is testing for the population. Therefore, for the sample, you can say mean value of errors are 0 versus mean values of errors are not equal to 0. Therefore, you can test this hypothesis. Therefore, in generally, we are using the notation rather than using the samples. We can say that mu of, simply we can say it as the mu of the error terms equals 0 versus h1 mu of the error term does not equal to 0. Therefore, you can use the t statistics to test this hypothesis. And here also, you may, if it is not rejected, if the null hypothesis, if we fail to reject null hypothesis, then we can say that the fitted model has the zero mean. Therefore, we can say that while the second assumption is not violated. Therefore, if otherwise, it means that if we reject h naught, then we can definitely say that mean is not equal to 0. Therefore, we have to say that the second assumption is violated. Therefore, this is the test we can use. We can use the t-test to test for this hypothesis, or else in simply we are going to, rather than checking for this, you can see about the residuals versus fitted value plot uh, to identify this whether it has the mean value as 0. And the third assumption is also checked using the fitted value plot, residuals versus fitted value plot. Therefore, what you can do here is, you can identify the assumption on the constant variance. Therefore, the constant variance can be also identified using residuals plot. Therefore, the spread location, we are naming them as spread location plot. Therefore, if your residuals does not show any increasing or decreasing trend, then we can say that if it is a constant variance. Therefore, using these residual value plots, the scale location plot, therefore you can obtain, or you can simply say whether you are violating the third assumption or not. Therefore, in the first one, you can see that now the residuals are having somewhat a trending pattern. It is just the trending increase. It means that these differences are now increasing. It means that it is an increasing trend, but here you can see that it is a decrease in trend. But in the third graph, therefore in these two situations, we can conclude that we have violated the constant variance assumption. It means that now you can see variance is not constant. It means it is variance is changing from one point to another point. But if you see about the last graph, or here last plot of residual, you can see that these residuals have now settled inside parallel bands. Therefore, you can take that this has the constant variance. Therefore, now you can see that the constant variance assumption is not violated in this point. Therefore, this is how you are using the testing for constant variance. But there is a test statistics you can use. Therefore, in the test statistics, if you are using this H naught, it is the you are going to test for sigma squared for the error terms. If it is if it is a constant, and maybe a constant, given constant, and then you can test for whether the variance are not equal to a constant value. Therefore, you can test for the test statistics, the Levene's test. It is the to test the homogeneity, or it means that constant variance actually in the null hypothesis, the constant variance exists versus constant variance does not exist. Therefore, Levene's test can be used to check for the homogeneity of the variances. Therefore, those are the statistical tests associated with testing the constant variance. And the last thing that we need to test under this model assumption, it is the testing for the residuals of the normality of the residuals. To check the normality of the residuals, you can simply obtain the QQ plot. We are saying this as the QQ plot. To obtain the QQ plot, we are plotting the standardized residuals versus the theoretical quantities. Using this plot, you can identify whether the residuals are normally distributed or not. In simply what you can do, you have to do is in the QQ plot, if you can identify that all the points are lies on a straight line, if you can see the points lies on a straight line, then we can say residuals are normally distributed. But if you can, but if you see if your points are in this way, now think about if you have the points in this form, now several sometimes you may get the things in this way. Therefore, now you can see the points are not exactly lies on a straight line. If you connect these points, then you may end up with it is somewhat a curve like this. Therefore, now you can see that the lines are not on a straight line. Therefore, you can say that normality assumption is violated for this data set. Therefore, you cannot, even though it may be the fitted model, may not be good one for you. Therefore, since the model assumption is violated, you may say that we have to go for an alternative method. Therefore, this is the visual method that you use to check the normality of the residuals. Uh, if there does not, if there exists a straight line for these standardized residuals versus the theoretical quantities, then we can say that the data set has a normal distribution. And since this is the graphical way, there are several other tests that we can use to check the normality. Here I have mentioned several tests that we can use to test for the normality of the residuals in the sense the error terms. These are the three tests that I have mentioned, but there are other than these three tests that we can use to test for normality. But in generally, we are using these three tests. Anderson-Darling test can be used, Shapiro-Wilk test can be used, and Kolmogorov-Simrov test can be used to test the normality of the residuals. And even though it is not for just for the normality of residual, normality of a distribution can be tested using, it is not needed to use all the three tests. You can use the Anderson-Darling test if you need, or else you need the Shapiro-Wilk test, or else if you need, you can apply the Kolmogorov-Simrov test to test the normality of the residuals. Therefore, this is what we are going to do under the simple linear regression. Now we will discuss one example for this simple linear regression. And if I summarize the things that we have discussed so far, first of all, for a given data set, we have to identify what should be the explanatory and what should be the response variable. It means the independent and dependent variable. And according to the situation, you need to identify how many explanatory and response variables are there. It means according to the number available, that you have to identify whether you are using simple model or multiple model, or else to this set of data. Thereafter, you need to observe the scatter plot of the data. Therefore, if the scatter plot suggests a linear relationship. It means that the points lie just on a line, then we can say that it has a linear relationship. In such situation, we can model the linear relationship. Therefore, after identifying the model, then you have to test for the significance of the regression model. You can use the ANOVA procedure or ANOVA technique to test for this hypothesis. Thereafter, you can identify how the fitted model is good using the R squared or the coefficient of determination. Thereafter, you have to check for the model assumption. To check the model assumptions, you can use the graphical methods as well as the statistical test that is appropriate to check the first one. It is the testing for the linearity of the model. Then you can use the residual versus fitted value plots. Therefore, if there is no any pattern exists, then if the points are random, then we can say the linearity assumption fulfilled, or it is now it's okay. And then the second one is the mean value 0. Therefore, you can use again the residual versus fitted value. Then if the mean value suggested as 0, then we can say assumption is not violated, or else you can use simply the t-test for residuals to test the mean value equals 0. And the next thing we have tested was the testing for constant variance against the scale. The location plots can be used, scale location plots can be used. If there is no any increasing or decreasing trend, it means that the points lies within a band or interval, band of interval. Therefore, we can say the variance are the error term, variance of the error terms are constant. Therefore, to test the homogeneity of these variances, then we can use the Levin's test. Then to test the Levin's test under null hypothesis, we are saying that there exists a constant variance among the error terms. And the last assumption that we are going to test is the residuals are normally distributed. The graphical way of testing is QQ plot. If the QQ plot suggests that points are exactly on a line, then we can say that residuals are normally distributed. And the test associated with this testing normality, you can using Anderson-Darling test, Shapiro-Wilk test, or Kolmogorov-Simidrov test. And now we will discuss an example for this here. A study was performed to identify the depositing amount of sodium chloride due to the wind in a coastal area. Then they have identified the amount of sodium chloride deposited due to the wind, and the wind speed was recorded, and now those values are included in this table, and they are saying that they have identified that the scatter plot between these two variables gives us a linear relationship. Since the scatter plot suggested for a linear relationship, then we can say that we can go for a linear model, the linear regression model. And here we can see that x and y variables are given. X variable and y variable, since we are having one x variable and one y variable, we can model this the set of data using simple regression, and you can see that all the data points are now quantitative manner. And first of all, what we have to do is we have to identify what should be the x variable and what should be the y variable. According to the example given, they are asking they need to identify the relationship between the amount of sodium chloride depositing due to the wind. Therefore, due to the wind, the amount of sodium chloride may be varied. Therefore, sodium chloride is now depend on the wind speed. Therefore, we can say our x variable is the wind speed, and y variable would be the amount of sodium chloride deposited due to the wind. There may be sodium chloride deposited due to other conditions, but here we are just going to observe the values, the amount of sodium chloride deposited due to the wind. It is because in a coastal area they have done this study. And here these are the questions they are asking. Write down the suitable linear model, including the intercept term. It is because in some models this intercept term may not be included. Therefore, that is why they are asking for the intersect term and estimate the parameters of the suggested model, and then you are asked to construct the ANOVA table and write down the appropriate hypothesis, and then you are asked to predict a value using the wind speed, where wind is equal to 0.46, the value of wind is 0.46, and they are asked to find the coefficient of determination for this set of data, and they are asked to interpret the results. If you go through the solution for this, then you can take it in this way. If you identify the linear model for this, then we can identify the linear model as y equals beta naught plus beta 1 x plus epsilon. It means that here you can say y is the amount of sodium chloride deposited and x is the wind speed. Anyhow, at the initially you have identified these variables, but since it is asked to write down the suitable linear model, since this is the linear model you have used, you have to interpret all the terms. Then once you interpret them, here you can see that intercept is now included for this model since it is asked. Therefore, in general, we are including this intercept term, but in some special cases, you may identify the models without the intercept term also. Here we will discuss y, x, and beta naught is the intercept term, beta 1 is the slope of the line, and epsilon stands for the error of this model. Since this is the general form that we are defining, and the fitted model can be now written as y equals beta naught hat plus beta 1 hat x. And rather than writing it in this form, it would be better if you can write the y hat. It is because using this model, we are estimating the value for y. That is why we are using y hat, and you do not need to set this x hat. It is because it is x is the observed value. Since x is the observed value we are using, no need to set x hat. Here these are the values that we are estimating. Y hat is an estimated value, beta naught is estimated, and beta 1 hat is also estimated value. Therefore, we can use these hat notation for the estimated values. To identify or to estimate the values for beta naught and beta 1 hat, we need these summary values. Therefore, first of all, I have taken x bar, y bar values. X bar value, I have added the x values. It means that values which appeared at the row x. Therefore, first of all, I need to get the all these addition of x values and then divide it by number of observation. Here we had 20 records. Therefore, the total divide by 20 gave the value as 0.75. And do the same procedure for y variable. Then we can take y variable, or this for the y variable, y bar is now equal to 0.584. And thereafter what we need to do is we need to take the summation of xy. To take the summation of xy, what you can do is if you are using a software, you can definitely do this easily. Otherwise, you need to make another row for x and y. Generally, we are writing this in this way. X and y would be here. Thereafter, we need to obtain a column for xy, and for these three columns we need the summation. Here we will get the summation of x, here we will get the summation of y, and here we will get the summation of xy. Therefore, these are the things that we need to identify once the data set is given for the calculations. Prior to other calculations, we need to identify these values. Therefore, for first of all, we need to obtain this column. It is because we need to get the multiplications of the xy paired values. Then thereafter, what we can do is we can get their summation according to this data set. The summation xy obtained as 6.6673, and thereafter again another column is needed for the calculation. It is the value of x squared. It is because when we are going to calculate the value for beta 1, this x squared term is in need, the summation of x squared needed. Therefore, for this place, to obtain this column, we can square the values appeared in the x column to get the values of x squared, and thereafter you need to get the summation of all these values, which ends up the summation as summation of x squared. Likewise, I have obtained the summation of y squared also, but we'll see whether all these are needed for the calculation. It is because if you look back about the equation that we have obtained for this, to get this ANOVA table, we need the summation. We need the summation of xy, as well as we need the summation of y square. Therefore, to construct the ANOVA, since we need it, we have to obtain. Otherwise, to obtain the values of beta naught and beta 1, we do not need the summation of y square. Therefore, the values that we have obtained here will be enough to calculate beta naught and beta 1. But to calculate the uh, obtain the values for ANOVA, then we need to definitely obtain value for y squared, summation of y squared also. Therefore, y terms are now squared and obtain another column. You can construct another column including y squared terms, and if you get the summations, then you will get the values for summation of y squared. Then what you can do is, I have observed the value of n also. N is equal to 20. Once you have obtained all the relevant summary statistics, then you can directly apply these values appropriately in the equation. Therefore, what I have taken is here, the value was, the substitution was done, summation xy was used here, then n was 20, and this should not be appear here. It should not be appear. It is just for this part only. Therefore, the calculation just gives you summation xy is 6.6673 and n is equal to 20. Then x bar has obtained as 0.75. Then this has to be multiplied with y bar, it is 0.584. Now you can see I have mistakenly added those two values, but those two should not be appear. No square terms will be appear here. Therefore, here we will have only 0.75 and then 0.584. Therefore, this is how we are doing the calculation. And then this has to be divided by summation of x squared. It is now 14.4636, and this has to be the sub. We have to subtract this quantity. It is n times summation x bar, mean x bar square, then 20 into mean value of x is 0.75, then square terms give you the value as 0 minus 0.6512. This value is minus 0.6512. Therefore, estimated value for beta 1, estimated value for beta 1 is now equal to minus 0.6512. Then accordingly, we need to estimate the value for beta naught also. The estimated value for beta naught is, you can use this equation y bar minus beta 1 hat x bar. The value obtained for beta 1 hat will be used inside this equation to obtain a value for beta naught hat. Therefore, you can perform this calculation and you can easily obtain the value of beta naught equals 1.0724. And if you move for the rest of the calculation, here we can say that fitted model is now, it is in general form. I have denoted it. It is y equals 1.0724 minus 0.6521. It is because here you got a negative value times x. But this is the general form you are defining. But according to the given problem, we have to substitute, or we have to name the y and x accordingly. Then y can be the amount of sodium chloride deposited due to the wind. Y is that variable. Then this equals 1.0724 minus 0.6512 into wind speed, where x has identified as the wind speed. Therefore, this would be the fitted model for the given data set. And thereafter, we need to obtain in the second part, they are asking to construct the ANOVA table for given model, and then In the third part, we need to identify the significance of the regression. To obtain the ANOVA model, ANOVA table, we may need these equations SST, SSR, and SSE may be needed. Therefore, once the equations are used, therefore, to calculate total sum of v square, summation of y squared minus n y bar squared is used. Therefore, using the appropriate substitution, then we can end up with the calculation as 1.1564. Here you can see that these once you are using these ANOVA tables, values inside ANOVA tables, these cannot be obtained as the negative values. All values should be positive. Then if the error, if there is a negative means, then there may be a calculation error. SSR can be obtained using this equation. I am using this, it is because it is easy for calculation. You have already identified a value for beta 1 hat. It is used here. Then summation of xy values are used here. Then n times x bar times y bar. Here value of n x bar values multiplied with y bar values. Then the SSR value was obtained as 1.3628. Then taking the difference between total and its regression sum of whiskers, then the error sum of whiskers has obtained as 0.1936. Therefore, these are the sum of whiskers value obtained, and the obtained ANOVA table is this. Now you can say that is some source of variable is regression, error, and total. Uh, we have saying degrees of freedom of regression as 1, and since we had 20 observations, 20 minus 1, n minus 1 gives you the degrees of freedom as 19. Then taking the difference between these two values, you can obtain the value as 80. Then we can have to obtain the sum of the square value. Therefore, according to the values obtained as the previous in this stage, you have to write the values accordingly. Therefore, once you write the values, then regression value was equal to 1.3628 and error was 0.1936 and total was 1.1564. Therefore, the values were written accordingly. Then take the ratio in between the sum of whiskers and degrees of freedom to obtain the mean whisker. Means 1.3628 divided by 1 gives you this value. 0.1936 divided by 18 gives you the value as 0.10108. Then taking the ratio in between these two, 1.3628 and 0.10108, we obtain the F ratio as 126.19. In the third part, they are asking us to test for the hypothesis. The hypothesis we are going to test is whether the beta 1 parameter is significant or not. According to this, we can say this is the null hypothesis and alternative. And what we need to do is we need to check for the F table value. The numerator and the denominator degrees would be 1 and 18, and we are performing this testing under 5% significance level. Therefore, we can take the critical value as 4.4139. And now you have to compare this calculated F value with the critical value. Therefore, if you see about the F distribution, in the F distribution, you may get it like this. And here you may have the critical value. Critical value is somewhat here. It is around now 4.4139. And once this is the region you have identified as the point identified as the critical value, then you can name this region maybe rejection region. This is the rejection region you can identify, and the calculated value may be somewhat here since it is quite larger than this 4.41. The calculated value was 126.19. Therefore, now you can see that the calculated value falls into the rejection region. Therefore, you can conclude that we cannot we are rejecting H naught. Therefore, H node, the beta 1 parameter is significant. Therefore, the decision can be written in this form. Since the F calculated value is greater than the critical value H node, it is because this is the calculated value 126.19. It is quite greater than the critical value of 4.4139. H naught is rejected under 5% significance level, and therefore we have to conclude that the fitted model is significant under the 5% significance level. Therefore, we can say that fitted model is significant. This means that we are rejecting H naught, therefore fitted model can be meant to be a significant model. Then in the next part of this question, they are asked us to uh, predict a value. To predict the value, we can say that the expected amount of sodium chloride deposited due to wind, and we have obtained the equation as y equals 1.0724, where y equals the uh, amount of sodium chloride minus 0.6512. This is the beta 1 value we have obtained as x was the v. And now we have to set the value of x equals to 0.46, since it is the value they are asking us to predict for y. Therefore, once you substitute x equals 0.46 in this equation, then you will get the expected amount of sodium chloride deposited due to the wind is 0.7728. Therefore, you can interpret this result. You can say that the amount of sodium chloride deposited due to the wind when wind equals 0.46 is 0.7728. Therefore, after obtaining the value, you can interpret the result. And as the last part, they are asked to obtain the coefficient of determination, and then you are asked to interpret the result. Therefore, you can say that R squared can be obtained using SSR divided by SST. SSR divide value was 1.3628 and total for 1.5564. If you take the ratio, you have obtained it as 0.8756. Now you can see that this value is in between 0 and 1. That is why I told you R squared is always in between 0 and 1. Now what you can do is you can convert this into a percentage value, just multiplying by 100%. Therefore, you can get the R squared. You can say this is equal to 87.56. If you need, you can convert this into a percentage value. The simply what you have to do is multiply this quantity with 100%. Therefore, it can be concluded that 87.56% of total variation can be explained using the fitted model. Therefore, this is how we are explaining this R squared value, and here I have included one exercise for this. Then you can again go through this exercise to refresh the things that we have discussed, and this will be really helpful for to understand the concepts that we have discussed under simple linear regression. Therefore, this is all what I need to discuss for this session, and thank you all for joining with this session.